Hello, and welcome to this new form of content I'm doing, drawing characters from the Demon Anatomy universe. Today we are starting with something pretty basic, considering it is grounded in the real world, and not something I have to explain my entire process on, the NUCKELAVEE, or as it's properly pronounced, the NUCKELAVEE. This Scottish folklore demon caught my attention almost as soon as I saw it, so I just had to incorporate it into my world. And considering the story is set in England, it would be silly to avoid it. So, without further ado, here we go. The NUCKELAVEE is a horse-like demon from Orcadian mythology that combines a queen and human elements. It has its origins in Norse mythology, the nastiest of all the demons of Scotland's Northern Isles. The NUCKELAVEE's breath was said to wilt crops and sicken livestock, and the creature was held responsible for droughts and epidemics on land, despite being a predominantly sea dweller. It is unable to tolerate fresh water. Therefore, those it is pursuing have only to cross a river or a stream to get rid of it. The NUCKELAVEE is kept in confinement during the summer months by the Mover of the Sea, an ancient Orcadian spirit and the only one able to control it. The NUCKELAVEE is described as having a head and torso in the shape of a man, with a huge head and large mouth protruding out like that of a pig. The creature had one single red eye that burned like fire. It had a man's torso attached to a horse's back with long arms that could reach the ground. A very deadly picture indeed. This zombie-like demon grew up to 9 feet and was known to be incredibly dangerous. Quick side note, I completely forgot to pronounce the NUCKELAVEE like the NUCKELAVEE, which is the correct pronunciation, so don't forget to comment how stupid that was, because that's the only way I'll learn. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And send help. Please, somebody. I've been trapped here for 3 days. You won't let me out of his wardrobe. Somebody, be interested. I went for a much more metaphorical approach to my version of the NUCKELAVEE. It originated in a lab, like most demons, a project designed to lead an army and camouflage itself as the enemy. This bulky creature overran ships and used its metamorphosing upper body to disguise as captains. This is actually the reason why I went with a much more animalistic build for the NUCKELAVEE. Its horse-like body just wouldn't fit in the world's lore. It already had another evolved design but actually needed a proto-variant. The NUCKELAVEE actually used to have skin. Its loss came with one of his greatest achievements: his destruction of Matador. Matador was an extremely advanced human city, the epicenter of mankind, located on Earth. After the Demon Revolution began, the NUCKELAVEE drove a massive warship directly into the heart of the city, blowing it to bits in the process. From there, it healed as much of its body it required, and led the charge into the remaining structures, single-handedly causing the wilt of humanity. It killed Lilith in one of the first demonicides of all time, which only sealed his fate as the most cruel demon to ever live. Due to confusing circumstances left unexplained for another day, Earth became reset as the demon race evolved and moved away from the Milky Way. The NUCKELAVEE was disgraced, and in a final victorious move, it exiled itself to wreak havoc on Earth. From there its story was almost exactly the same, although derived from word of mouth. While it did travel in salt water, it refused to travel in fresh water because it took too much effort for its likings. It was not locked away by an Orcadian spirit in the summer months. It just had a lot of exposed flesh that it preferred not to get burnt. Ironic if EU also primarily existed in salt water. It was known to destroy crops and villages for fun, but it was more than happy to challenge whomever came up against it, keeping every injury or weapon it was struck with. I wanted to present the hardy nature of the Scottish with how beat up the NUCKELAVEE looked, and I'd love to think that somewhere out there a proud Scottish family owns a giant severed tooth, which I hope to build up with future human characters. These days the NUCKELAVEE travels around Scotland, challenging whomever it considers worthy. And that's it. My rendition of the NUCKELAVEE. Remember that thing the wardrobe said? Like and subscribe.